Hey Molly. Hey Molly, I'm great. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. How is your family doing?
Everybody's doing really well. Yeah, just really well.
I love to hear that. That is wonderful. So 2021 is coming to a close, and with that, 2022 bringing lots of new exciting opportunities and adventures. One that I have recently started on is I have become a realtor with Keller Williams Realty. I'm very excited about that. So I wanted to reach out to you and see sort of what your needs were, if any, in the real estate market. I am looking to, put together a package of information that I can get out monthly. So I just kind of wanted to get some feedback from you and see what kinds of things you would be interested in hearing from me.
So yeah, so I'd be curious about, I've been renting for a while and I don't even know what it looks like to buy a home. I don't even know what would a monthly payment be, for instance, and how much, how much do you have to earn to qualify for that? And is it better to rent or is it better to buy, I guess? And then what kind of home could I buy? I guess if that would be a question I have. What could I, you know, and is there, depending on depending on the price, I'd love to have 3 bedrooms at least, one for Ron and I, and then one for the dogs. No, I'm kidding. One for an office. I do work from home a lot, and Ron needs a space where he can paint. So probably 3 bedrooms.
Okay, that's all a really good starting point. So for you, it sounds like maybe the financial portion is something that would be a really good starting point to get feeling confident in what your capabilities are.
Yes, absolutely.
That's
Is that
beautiful.
is that something you can help with?
That is absolutely something that I can help with. We have the opportunity to be able to put you in touch with some great lenders that you can work with that can get you set up, and we can get a plan together personalized for you that makes things very doable, and we can tackle it from there. Would you be interested in setting up a time to discuss any of this further, maybe in person over coffee?
Yeah, I would love to do that. And one thing, Molly, that I've heard is that it's the homes are really going for high prices right now. And is it better to wait until till the prices come down, or are the prices going to come down? Or I don't want to overpay for a house.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. I think everybody's situation needs to be personalized to exactly what they are looking for, and what their future plans are. When you're buying a home, this is a long-term investment, and we want to set you up for success. So I would love to get some really personalized information from you, and that way we can put together a specific package that works specifically for your needs. It is very competitive out there right now. And so by us doing this and putting together a package for you, we can make you a competitive offerer on the table, competitive with all those other folks out there.
Wow. Okay.
Closer.
Yeah, I was just going to say, hint. Go for the appointment.
Okay, perfect. So I have a couple days open this week. Thursday and Friday works good for me, or if maybe Monday or Tuesday worked better for you next week, what do you have available?
Friday works for me.
Beautiful. Do you have a 10 a.m. available?
I do.
Awesome. Would you be interested in me coming over to see you, or would you like to meet, at Starbucks down the street?
Yeah, let's go to Starbucks.
All right. Awesome. What's your favorite drink from Starbucks?
Water.
I'm with you. I'm not really a coffee person either, but well, great.
Oh.
So That is awesome. I look forward to seeing you Friday at 10 a.m. And I'm going to bring some things for you just to look at, and we'll kind of get a starting pace and see where everybody is at. And I look forward to building with you from here.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Molly. I look forward to it.
Thanks, Candy. See you Friday.
All right. Great job. Great job. I mean, if I didn't know who you were and how long you've been in the business, I certainly wouldn't have expected you to be in the business barely a week. So
Agreed.
You're starting at a level that is far ahead of the vast majority of new people. Great job overall. Can I give you some feedback?
Please, I would love it.
Okay, and then if there's others that have some ideas or some commentary or questions or whatever, get ready and we'll give you a chance to chat too. So you jumped right into the real estate stuff, right? So I might just jot down a couple of questions that are a little bit more personalized. Remember, especially if you're going to be speaking to this is like your first kind of contact in a long time, or you would expect this person to kind of be a big support system for you. You don't want to condition them to think that every time Molly calls, Molly's going to want to talk about her real estate business, right? So see if you can ask them some generalized questions about, what's new in their world. You did start that way, but I don't know if it was Candace didn't volunteer it so much, or you didn't push her to volunteer it so much, but there was like this weird moment where you probably felt like it was probably time to go into real estate, and I would have fleshed out a little bit more stuff on her first.
Okay.
Right?
It was specifically when you asked me how my family was doing, and I said, oh, everybody's well. You could have gone into a little bit more detail, like, well, tell me what everybody's doing, and dig in deeper to build that relationship. Because I really wanted to talk about my family, but I didn't feel like I didn't have the opening to do that. So that's something that you could do.
Okay,
Perfect.
Great. Thank you.
You did do a lot of repeating back, right? Which is good, right? So she would say something and then you would echo it back. You did a great job there. There's a phrase that is that you could put in, like it's called a tie down, right? And it's things like right or correct or isn't that right or something like that. There's probably a couple of places in that whole conversation you could have thrown that in just to kind of make sure she was, kind of with you on a few of your comments. Lots of ums. I mean, we're just practicing. The more you say it, the better you're going to get on that stuff. No big deal. One of the questions you asked was, would you be interested in meeting to discuss? That is, it's a closed-ended question, right? If they were to say no, because maybe it's not so urgent for them, or they're busy, or whatever it is, then kind of puts you in a spot where, it's tough to recover from that, or it's tough to so tell me more about that family, right? So
Right.
I would just ask them questions like, it sounds like we should meet, and assume that well, logically we're going to meet. So now all we have to do is settle on the day and the time, right?
Okay.
One thing, I know this didn't come up, but it did cross my mind when it was being said, was you did a great job when you responded with creating a personalized solution, and how much will it cost, and can I afford it, and these kind of things. You responded to that brilliantly. One thing that I always like to think of, especially if you are speaking to your friends, is that a lot of friends are, how do I want to say this? A lot of people are kind of private about their finances, right? And they may mistakenly feel that if they give you an opportunity to help them on the buyer side, or on the seller side for that matter, then you will know every little financial thing about them. You'll know, do they have credit card debt? Is there personal loans? Is their credit score not that good? Is their finances a hot mess? Is there marital issues that are causing things to be strange, like accounts in a variety of places and these kind of things? I always kind of like to make the remark of, I'll have a rough idea of what your salary is based on what the lender tells us, but it's not, I don't need to know, and I quite frankly don't want to know all the details of your financial situation. So that's why we put another fantastic partner in the group to say, hey, this is Kathy with Shelter Home Mortgage. She can answer all of your financing questions, share with you all the different loan options that are available and down payment requirements and all of that kind of stuff. And once we know what the best opportunity is for you, then you'll come to me with something that says, hey, I can afford a $400,000 house with a 5% conventional loan down payment. Let's go. Right.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to know all of their private financial stuff, and they don't have to have that either burden or curiosity of whether that you're going to like start to creep into a part of their world that not many people are there. Does that make sense?
Good
Absolutely.
point. Yeah.
Okay.
And one thing I really liked was that you started me on the path of dreaming by saying that 2022 is going to be filled with opportunities and new adventures, whatever you said there. I felt me getting excited. And I thought that was really excellent. I think also, so I have two thoughts, and Bill, you can weigh in on this. One, this probably wasn't the phone call to ask detailed questions about what kind of home I wanted, but you could help me start dreaming a little bit, like, oh, so you've got a dog now, and so gosh, what would that look like for a backyard? That would get me kind of, I would start being like, wow, what would that be like? So, but I wouldn't get too detailed. You did good with that.
Okay, great. Thank you so
Agreed.
much.
You also asked, okay, last critique is you said something like, I have some flexibility on Thursday or Friday, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of alluded to the fact that you had nothing to do.
Okay.
Right. As opposed to, I'm available to Thursday at 2:00 or 4:00 or Friday morning at 9:30 or something.
Okay.
Right. So that's like whenever I speak with an agent, they're like, oh, I'm going out to look at homes on Saturday with somebody. And I'm thinking to myself, what time on Saturday? Like the whole day? Like how many homes are you going to show them? Like, have you committed your whole day away from everything else, including your family, to quote show homes to this buyer? Like, you ought to be spending an hour or two at the buyer max and go do something else, right? So don't imply that don't imply that the whole day is theirs for the taking, right? Give them a slot, and then if they say yes, that's the slot, and if they say no, give them another slot, but give them a slot that makes sense for you.
Okay.
Don't leave the whole day open for them.
And I like to make it, my husband taught me this a long time ago, make it about them. I like to make it about them. I like to frame that question as, do you have availability Thursday at 4 or Friday at 10? Instead of saying I have availability, I like to say, do you have availability? It implies that those are the times I'm available, but it makes it about them.
Okay.
Yeah, great point. That was much better said than what I said.
No.
I think when it would come out on a real call, I'd probably say what Candace said. I hope so. But her phrasing was much better than mine.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
agree with Bill. I was like, did you get your license? I was sitting there going, what? I mean, you did great.
Yeah, I was going to say, Molly, you did a great job. For somebody who's brand new, you sounded so confident to me.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
I agree. I hope everyone understands that when I'm giving this type of feedback, it's not to make you feel small, it's to help you be better, right? Yeah. And it takes a certain amount of courage to volunteer. So we appreciate that, Molly. I'm excited for you to continue this. This is going to be awesome. Any other thoughts or questions from anyone? Or Molly, did you have any questions or feedback based on what we said?
No, I mean, this was my very first run at this. I wrote this script last night, so it worked out that you asked for role playing this morning. So I just really appreciate everybody's time, and it's going to get better the more I do it, like you said. So I really appreciate all of the constructive feedback. This is
beautiful. All right. Wonderful. Good job.
Does Molly know about Ford? Does she know about the Ford model?
I'm not sure. She's joined since Bold started. So why don't you share with everyone what that is, if you don't mind?
So Molly, like there's a kind of a an acronym that we follow, FORD. It's family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And it's kind of the path that you follow during a care call conversation, or conversation where you're just reaching out to someone in your sphere to see how they're doing. You ask about family, which is kind of what you started out with, and that's where I thought you were going. And like Candace was waiting for you to dig a little deeper, you dig a little deeper on that, and then next you'd ask about their job, like what they're doing. And typically people will turn around and ask you what you're doing. So then that's when you could bring out that you have started in real estate and start that conversation. And then recreation is like, what is that, Bill? Like what you like to do? And
Yeah, hobbies, you know, maybe what kids' activities,
Mhm.
how you spend the weekends, you know, whether you've gone on any trips lately, if you're planning any trips lately, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then the D is for dreams, kind of like what they're dreaming of doing in the future, and that could pertain to real estate too, like what their plans are in the future.
Right,
Okay,
and you could also ask questions like, "Hey, are you still living in Smyrna?" Or you know, you could kind of remind them of what you remember about them in some ways.
okay.
Right. Right. So in order to really, I mean, they're going to have a few things in order to buy. Let's assume that, right? They're going to have a job, or a spouse with a job or something like that, right? So rather than like jumping into real estate like we talked about, you know, if you learn a little bit more about what's keeping their family busy from a financial perspective, you can find out, like, if you're like, "Hey, how's it going?" They're like, "Terrible, I just lost my job. My husband lost his job 6 months ago." Well, don't bring up real estate.
Right. Read
Right.
the
So the more you know, kind of the earlier on in the conversation you know stuff, the way you can determine if you're going to weave it into the conversation or how assertive you might be with it.
Okay, that's
Thanks
really
for
helpful.
bringing that up, Donna.
Yeah, very, very good, Donna. Thank you. Okay, Stacy is on the line, right? Let's see.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Stacy, you are going to do you want to receive a call from a seller who received a golden letter from you. Is that right?
Yes. In my case, they've left a message for me and I need to call them back, but we could do it anyway. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So
And
why
this
don't we
is
do
an
the
unmet someone in my neighborhood. Yeah. That I have not met before. So like listening to Molly's call, it seems, yeah, direction on how you do an unmet.
Okay, so let's set the stage a little bit. So for those that you know might not know exactly, yeah, great. What is a golden letter? I'm headed there right now. So a golden letter is a letter that is sent out. Let's say Stacy sent out a letter to the homeowners in a particular neighborhood. I'm gonna get them. Okay, so Stacy sent out a letter to the homeowners of a particular neighborhood, and it said essentially, well, why don't you tell us what it said? Because there's a lot of different kind of various ways.
Yes. I know
So-
since I sent out my letter, I've seen so many different versions.
It doesn't sound like you're in a great place.
But
Can you?
I followed your class. Oh, I'm on my headphones. Yes, they're earbuds,
Okay,
so
that's much better.
should be fine.
All right, don't move.
Don't move. Okay.
Okay,
Maybe
what
my
did your
earbuds are
letter
going
say
out.
specifically? Did it say you had a buyer? Did it say it's low inventory and it might be time to sell? What was the content of the letter?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I said that I'm writing on behalf of clients who want to be in this area specifically. So I'm reaching out to everyone in the neighborhood with in the off chance you or someone you know has been thinking about selling.
Don't
And then
include the phrase off chance in the future if you did.
Oh, I just followed what Michelle Slater told us, like by anyway, yeah, I did her workshop. So that's where that's where my letter's coming from.
Okay.
But you want me
So
to scratch
if you
out
ask
those words?
If you ask 1,000 realtors, you'll get 1,000 different opinions.
Yes, exactly.
Personally, I don't like that off chance phrase because that's like, well, should I be thinking about that or should I not? Like it kind of psychologically or subconsciously maybe gives the listener or the reader, it creates doubt in their thoughts whether it should be there or not.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, since I did
I'll
this letter,
talk
I've
to
seen,
Michelle about that too.
yeah, there's so many versions out there, but this one was written that way. No pressure, of course, but I promised our buyers I would try to find them a home in this crazy market. And then I tell them, in the last 3 months, houses in our area have sold on average with only 8 days on the market and 2.8% over list price. It's a great time to sell. And then I talked about a couple things like if you're concerned about selling quickly, we can negotiate for sellers to stay in their home for up to 60 days. And I made a note that I'm certified in Keller offers ready to sell. If the home is not ready, move-in ready, that we can work on that. So that was the gist of the letter.
Okay, perfect. So here's how I would prepare for that. Great job, by the way. Again, this is activity breeds activity, right? You went to a class, which is the first check, right? Then you heard what you heard, which is the next check. Then you decided to engage in it, which is the next check. Then you decided to buy the supplies and do it, right? And do it by a certain date. So you're already like 7 or 8 steps into the process. So I want to congratulate you on that. Okay. There are people on the call and people who unfortunately are not on the call who have not done that. So again, high fives to you. So here's what I would carry around for the foreseeable future, which is every piece of sales data in that community, you should have in your hand.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Okay.
Like you run to the bathroom and you're taking the comps with you. Like they need to be everywhere. You don't know when you're going to get this call.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so what ultimately is going to happen is you should have printouts of all those homes in front of you, all the ones that you're talking about, all the ones that sold for over asking, all the ones that sold in a couple days, whatever it may be. So if somebody's like, hey, that house on the corner, you're not like, what? Right? Because they probably know that person. Like they probably, played poker there or had dinner there or, went to the fire pit there or whatever. Like, remember, they probably know these homeowners more than you do. So the only way you're going to combat that is with data from the sale. Right.
Right.
And when they say, oh, is that the home with the finished basement where they did that crazy thing down there? And you're like, yeah. Right. You don't want to be like, what are you talking about? Let me look that up. Because then they're going to be like, wait, I thought you were the expert.
And be prepared. Bill is describing the way that people who live in a neighborhood, they don't say the home at 3343 Water's Edge Trail. They say that home on the corner or that home, that white home with they say it like that. That's how
they're like, is that the Greens house?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the home the Greens lived in? Right.
Okay.
So you want to know about these sales, right? So that's where I would start. I want to make sure that you are prepared to have a very, very high level conversation around those comps. That would be the first thing. And the second thing, I'm going to assume you have buyers that actually would consider a property in that neighborhood, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm partnering with agents who have buyers. So that's how they told me to do this. Yeah.
Let me ask you very, very directly then, just so I'm super clear. Do you have a buyer?
I am working with a buyer's agent who the agent has the buyer. So I would be working with the seller.
Okay,
but I have
good.
specific
So
agents who are looking. Yeah. So I do have to explain that because when I,
maybe
when we wrote the letter, they said yeah.
You might have to explain that. Let's see how the conversation plays out. What I mean by that is when they say, so you have a buyer? And you could say, well, I'm working with a number of agents in our office that are representing buyers at this moment. Yes. Tell me a little bit about your home or something like that. Because if they say, oh, it's a 2-story family room and that particular buyer doesn't want a 2-story family room, then you don't necessarily need to talk about the buyer anymore. Now you can just focus on what caused this person to make the call. They must have some inkling or curiosity or desire about values or your buyer or you or what market, right? So the first piece is to satisfy all the questions they might have.
Great. What about you?
And then based on what they say, you can decide, are you going to kind of lean more into the buyer side of the conversation or lean more into the I might be your listing agent side of the conversation. Do y'all follow how I'm approaching that?
Right. Because in my case, I would be working with them, from on the sell side.
Well, assuming that they didn't have a relationship with a realtor. I mean, there's a little bit of, that's not a given, right? There's a number of things that would have to fall into place in order for that to be the
Okay.
case. So you might
Okay.
use this as just an opportunity to gather information, right? When are you planning to move? What caused you to, call me back? What questions do you have? Tell me a little bit about your house. And ultimately, hey, I can share this information with my colleagues' clients, right? And I'm out in the field all day too. So I don't have me personally, I don't have a buyer for you at this moment, but I certainly have colleagues that do. Tell me a little bit more about what you have, and I'll share all that information and I'll follow back up with you.
Okay.
Make sense? All right. You remember, you're the boldest one in the
I
room
think so.
because you volunteered. So we're here to help you. You got 12 people here to help you. 13 people. All right. All right. Who
Okay.
wants to be the seller? Candace,
I will be the
it's your
seller.
lucky day.
I know, right?
All right. All right, Stacy, I'm sorry. Call Candace, who has left a message for you on the voicemail.
Okay. And like you were saying, to have comps and stuff prepared. So obviously I haven't had time to do that. So I just fake it, right? Okay.
Yeah, just make it up. Right.
Okay.
Make it up.
Okay. Ring, ring.
But hold on.
Yeah.
If somebody called you today from a random number, would you pick up the phone?
That's a good question, because normally if I have no idea who's calling, I let it, that's a thing I have to work on. I let it go to voicemail because I don't know if it's
That's not
telemarketer or
necessarily
what.
true,
So
but I guess the reason why I asked that is because if, for example, you would pick up the phone, like no question, then it could be a seller, and you might be expected to, spring right into this conversation. Right.
yeah,
Which
I
means
wondered
deal.
about that. Are you able to
Yeah, you're
say, I don't know if to call you back in 10 minutes.
never do that.
Let me-
Never. Okay.
How about
If you're not prepared to have the conversation, just let it go to voicemail and spend 5 minutes preparing.
Got
Me
it. Okay.
personally, I used to answer the phone 100% of the time.
Mhm.
Now I answer the phone 0% of the time. Unless
Okay.
I know for a fact somebody's calling me for a very specific reason and it makes perfect sense for me to answer the phone right then and there. Otherwise, it's going to voicemail because I'm focused on whatever I'm focused on, and that's top priority, and then I'll get to you. Now I'm coming from a different angle. I understand that, but if somebody leaves the voicemail because I happen to be going to the bathroom, they'll still be willing to be my realtor in 45 seconds. Okay? If otherwise, you're going to answer the phone all day, all night for your whole career, which is not healthy, right? But if
That's
you are
not
prepared
my
to answer the phone,
way,
you
yeah.
better be ready to handle these conversations.
Right. Got it. Okay.
So
You
today,
want me to,
you
you
got to
want me
study
to
the
call you,
comps.
Stacy?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Candace's
Okay.
way of shut up.
Well,
Let's get on the road.
Well, I'll call you because I'm returning your call.
Okay.
All right. Ring, ring.
Hello, this is Candace.
Hi, Candace. This is Stacey Davis with Keller Williams. How are you doing?
Hey, good, Stacy. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am calling because I received your message yesterday where you responded to my letter. So is this a good time for you to talk?
Sure.
Okay, great. Well, I'd love to learn about your situation. Thank you for responding to the letter. I guess I just want to start with asking what questions you might have about it.
Well, yeah. So we don't know. I mean, we kind of know what homes are going for in our neighborhood, but I think our home is a lot nicer. And I'd like to know some more about the homes that have sold in our neighborhood. Can you tell me about that, or can you help me know what my home is worth?
Yes, I can. It takes a little bit of time for me to analyze it, but I could tell you what's going on in your neighborhood. There's a house that closed, if you might be aware of this, in September of this year. and it's sold for 103% over list. Like
What
I
does that-
said in my,
What does
yeah,
that mean?
it means, in this case, the sellers were asking for $950 and they got a sale price of $975. So it tells me that, there were a lot of buyers interested, right? Like
Okay.
yeah, right now the, inventories are so low, so we have
You're breaking up again.
a very large supply or from buyers and, with a low inventory. I'm on my headphone. Let me just take, maybe my earbuds are messed up. One second. Let me take them off. Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Is that any better?
Yes.
So my earbuds must be going out. Okay. Now I can't hear y'all, so I don't know what happened.
I just put them back in then.
Yeah.
It was only
Okay.
every minute or so, a couple phrases got like drawn out. That was it.
Well, that's good to know because I thought, my earbuds must be going bad. So
There we go.
okay,
Practice.
I'll throw
right?
them away. Thank
The
you.
other client might just be like, what's wrong with this woman's technology? I can't work with her. But
I know. And here I thought I was doing better by having my earbuds in. So they're messed up. So thank you for letting me know. I'm going to throw them in the trash. Okay. So yeah, we have a high demand of buyers. So in some circumstances, it's not guaranteed, but when, especially when the houses are move-in ready and they're priced right, we're seeing a lot of competition with buyers. So that's what happened in that case.
So Stacy, I'm gonna give you a hint here. In
Yes.
bold, they were talking about all the ways to ask questions. So this is the time to start asking questions and using words to begin with, like what, how, where, when, all those kinds of questions so that you can start to identify my motivation.
perfect.
Okay. So you guys are open to the idea of selling. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, my husband and I are thinking about, moving a little bit further out and having a little bit of space to where I can have a garden and maybe we can have some horses, that kind of thing, or goats, something like that. Oh, let me
Cool.
be a little bit more conventional. My husband and I are thinking of downsizing. The kids are grown,
Okay.
and the kids are grown and out of college now, so they're not coming home as much, and it's just a big house for us.
Okay, great. Do you have an idea on when? Are you ready to consider this now? Or are you just when?
doing
When
great.
do you think
Keep
you
it up.
might like to make a move?
You're doing great. So yeah, my husband retires in December, and so 2022 is the year we're going to be making a lot of changes. We're ready to go pretty much January 1st or
Well, that's
2nd.
exciting. Yeah, January 1st on New Year's Day. Yay. You said you want to downsize. Do you have an idea on where you would want to go? Are you looking in this community? In this area, the Atlanta area, or are you thinking of moving out of the area?
So there's a community we really like up in Canton called Soleil Laurel Canyon, and
Nice.
it's an active adult community, and they've got this huge clubhouse. I don't know. Do you know anything about that?
I do not, but I'd love to look into it if that would help.
Yeah, I don't know what the home prices are. We haven't really explored it, so I don't know what the home prices
Okay.
look like. Yeah, I'd like to get some information.
Yeah, I can
about
absolutely
that.
help you with that. I have to just do it. Yeah, absolutely. What was the name of that again? It was in Canton.
Soleil, like SOLIEL, Laurel Canyon, something like that.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to look into that. I have not heard of that community, and I love learning about all the new developments. So I
tell her
can
what you
give you
don't know,
information
tell
on
her
that.
what
So
you
it
do
sounds
know.
like, okay. So yeah, it sounds like we should get together and talk more about how to get your house on the market. Are you available tomorrow at 10 a.m.?
Not tomorrow, but Friday at 2.
Okay, let me just look at my schedule real quick. Yeah, it looks like Friday at 2 would work. And I could come by your house and we could get started from there.
And you
I
want to
could-
make make sure my husband's gonna be home.
Oh, duh.
Well, this
I'll-
is when you would pivot to the pre-qualification script. Right,
Oh, I don't
so-
have that in front of me. Pre-qual. Okay.
Okay, so the seller's pre-qualification script is just a series of 10 or 12 questions or something, right? It's in the systems package that I have sent those that have emailed me their income goal, hint, hint.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Email me your income goal, I will send it to you. If you
Okay.
haven't already got it.
And I'm just
And
gonna
it's been
say,
in
No, I
the,
missed
it's been in
that.
the Google Drive forever, but it's, I'll actually just post it here to make it super simple for you. But that's also something that you should have right next to your phone, right? You should either have
Yes.
it memorized or right in front of you at all times, because at any moment, that person can say, hey, I am actually kind of interested. Oh, wonderful. Well, I just have a couple of really important questions for you so that I can best prepare.
so
Is now a good time.
yeah, and
Okay.
you've got an opportunity, since you're gonna call them back, to do a little research on them. I'd look up I'd look up a Facebook page, I'd look them up on True People or Real People search and
Mhm.
see what the ages are, because that might give you a hint that they might be wanting to downsize. You know, if they're in their late 50s, maybe they might be wanting to downsize, and then you could start to have some active adult communities, like have a cursory knowledge of some of those. So just use this time for preparation, and like Bill said, have all your tools right next to you.
So this is
Okay.
also a really good opportunity to remind everyone that it's important to have a workstation, right?
Mhm.
Like, where do you work where you're not going to encounter a bunch of distractions, right? Where the most important things that need to be looked at all times, like your calendar, your pipeline, your scripts, right? What you're up to that day, what your priorities are for the day, the daily success list, it's all right there, right? It forces you to think like a worker, right? Tammy yesterday in Bold said, like, everyone gets in the business for freedom and flexibility, but if you don't work, you can have all the freedom and flexibility you want. You just won't have any income, right? So you need to, like, what makes you think that you can, like, go pick up dog food in the middle of the day for 2 hours? Like, if you had a 9 to 5 job, you would never be able to do that. So why do you think you have the right to do that now, right? You have to be just as disciplined, if not more disciplined, right, to be your own boss.
And I want to say, Stacy, I think you did a really great job. I thought you were cheerful. You sounded positive. The one thing I'd say to everybody is, remember, it's a real person that you're talking to, not just a lead. And if you can warm up a little bit before, this is something I learned a long time ago. Warm up before you make any phone call. Even now today, I do the same thing. I warm up. I practice what I'm going to say and how I want the conversation to go, so that I can sort of guide it before I get on the phone with anybody, in a sales situation. And I always remind myself, this is something that I've learned, is to say, these are real people who have a story. They have real desires and real needs and concerns and pressures. And so if you can come from a place of, I don't want something from them, but I want to help them, it changes the whole tone of the conversation. And people feel
Well
that.
said.
People really
Well,
feel that.
And that's a question I
said.
have with an unmet that you're returning a call. Can you say how many questions would you ask before you go into, okay, well, I'm returning your call, or, I'm here to answer your questions. How many personal questions would you ask before you go into the purpose of the call?
Well, they know. I don't think you should. I think you should say the purpose of the call pretty fast, right? Hey, this is Stacy Davis. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams. By the way, I loved how you didn't call it the golden letter, right? That's an internal
Yes.
term,
That was
Oh,
good.
right?
right,
I wanted
right.
to make sure. I wanted to make sure I said that loud and clear, right? Great job on that. That's did you send the golden letter? Wait, the golden letter, is this like a thing, right? Like,
Right.
I'm responding or I'm calling you back on the letter that I sent that you were kind enough to inquire about. I loved how you started it off. Tell me a little bit about what questions you had. You left it very open. I thought that was fantastic.
Yep.
Okay.
I think you should, if you had the seller pre-qual letter in front of you and you had the comps in front of you, you're basically prepared for any direction that conversation can go, right? So I think you did really, really well at the beginning to make sure that you didn't lead with, hey, I'm a realtor, I want to get paid, right? It was, how, tell me a little bit about more about your circumstances, right? And you let the caller, you let Candace kind of describe what she was up to. The second that she made it sound like she was ready to go, as we said, that's where you pull out the seller pre-qual letter or pre-qual questions, so that you can make sure. I'm gonna post
And
them
Stacy,
fast.
while Bill's doing that, it's always appropriate to say, would you mind if I asked you some questions so that I can get a better idea of how I can help you? And that gives you
Okay.
permission to go into all those details.
Right.
Okay.
And you have to use, you have to know the scripts well enough to kind of move around them a little bit if you need to. Like at the very beginning of this script, it says, before I come out to your home, there are a few questions I need to ask to be fully prepared and to save you time. Do you have a few minutes right now? Right. You might have tweaked that slightly to say, it sounds like we should meet, but so that I can do some preparation and make sure that I have as many answers to your questions as possible, I have a couple of questions. Would it be okay if I ask them today or right now? Right. And then you can
Okay.
just scan the list. So that's things like when we spoke, you were looking to sell your home and move to, correct. So again, you have to tweak that. So where are you planning to move? Right? Because you don't know the information at that time. How soon do you have to be there? Right? Have you looked online at, homes that are similarly priced in your area? Right? And you ask that question so that they can say things like, no, that's why I'm bringing you over. So you can tell me. Or they say, well, yeah, I've calculated the average price per square foot is 193.75846 feet per, dollar per square foot. And you're like, oh gosh, I got a high C here. Let me bring out the calculator and bring some graphs, right? So when you ask open-ended questions, you're gonna see a lot about their personality, right? We talked about this yesterday too. If you were to say, so tell me briefly about your home, or one of these questions down here says, tell me briefly about your home. And they're like, oh, it's a 3-2 on a, quarter of an acre. You're like, and
Not
like,
detailed.
anything else?
Yeah.
Right? Or you might say,
Okay.
well, when you walk in slightly to the left at a 17-degree angle is the dining room, and the dining room is 10.5 feet by 9.5 feet, right? You got to treat that person a little differently. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Great
And I would
job. As soon as she let you on to believe there was an appointment to be had, you went right at it, which is fantastic. We didn't even have to tell you to close her. Good job.
Yeah. And I just want to say, when you're asking those questions, most people are really willing to talk about themselves, most people, but you don't want it to sound like an interrogation. So you want to have some chatty around it. You want to reinforce, and I don't like to reinforce the same way every single time. I don't want to say, oh, that's fantastic, every single thing they say. I want to say, if they say, my husband and I want to downsize, the kids are grown, and you're like, oh, tell me about your kids. What do you have, boys, girls? What are they doing? You can go into things like that. Just make it a little bit more chatty than just drilling down question.
Right. And
Okay.
Candace said something really interesting. She said, the kids are a little older, they don't come out around as much, and so we don't need this big house. So that's
Right.
actually that's a very deep comment, right? So every time this woman walks around her big old house, she wonders why the kids don't come over anymore. That's not meaning go, well, that sounds great, we should sell it so I can get paid, right? That's
Right.
right. We need to be we need to hear that really, really clearly to say, to empathize with that a little bit. So as all these hurdles of the selling process happen, she's selling away what represents kind of family unity that's not there anymore, right? So this just goes to show you how deep of a process this is for people, and we have to be listening so well that we can't be thinking about what we're going to say next. That's already got to be memorized or right in front of us, right? And internalized. You could wake me up at 1 a.m. and be like, a 6-pack in and be like, give me the pre-qualification script, and I can tell it to you because I've said it 4 billion times.
Yeah.
Mm,
You see what
okay.
I'm saying? I'm
Well,
gonna
and
when
sit back
someone,
in
when
since
they,
college, by the way, just so you know.
when someone says something that alludes to, yeah, it's kind of a painful, maybe that's what I think of. Is it a, would you ask? How would you go into something like that? Because I feel like I'm getting into a psychological conversation. Like,
You will
if
be.
some,
You will be.
yeah.
I don't think I'd push on that one though, but get comfortable with psychological questions. They're coming, right? You
But I-
will feel like a part-time therapist before you know it.
Well, I guess it's like a balance of knowing when to go deeper, when it's appropriate to go deeper with some things. I don't know.
That one I'd probably leave alone, but I would prepare yourself to get comfortable with dealing with people's wide range of emotions, right?
Okay.
And there's going to be people that cry with you. There's going to be people that like loudly like like cry because they're happy. There's going to be people that are crying because they're sad. There's going to be people that are selling their home because somebody died. I have a client I helped put in I helped him maybe 4 or 5 years ago buy a home. Tragically, his son, right before the son turned 2, went down for a nap upstairs, never woke up. And they didn't go upstairs. They moved out of the
Oh.
upstairs. They moved on the lower level. They never went upstairs. Eventually it became too much for them and they sold their house. And in fact, they didn't even call me. They just sold it to like Open Door, one of these places, and took a huge hit financially because they couldn't live there anymore and they didn't want anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Wow.
And so you just don't know what some of these people are experiencing. How far do you dig? I would just say, so, you could kind of just shift the conversation right away. So tell me a little bit more about the ideal home for you.
Okay.
And don't
Right.
assume. I mean, I've worked with people who are like, oh my God, the kids are finally out of the house. I can finally do what I want. I'm gonna go have some fun.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
don't assume. And I might be the person. And so you could always just say, oh, at some point as you're getting to know them, maybe not right then, but at some point you can say, so tell me a little bit about your kids. And I might say, oh, my daughter is a PhD in Washington. This is me making stuff up. This is actually my niece.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter is a PhD working with Homeland Security in Washington, and my son is a IT guy working in Silicon Valley. So they live away, so that's why they don't come home as much anymore. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
that they live in town and they're shunning me. So just
Yeah.
assume. But I agree with Bill that it's probably not a question to dig into unless I start to talk about it.
Well,
Okay.
if you don't have a bunch of questions that you've internalized and you're ready to ask, then you may feel this awkward moment of, should I ask them more about that?
Mm-hmm.
So you can just shift it completely to something else, right? Tell me a little bit about the home that you're looking to move to, or are you planning to stay in the area, or what's the most important thing that you'll be looking for in your next home?
Okay. Well, and you said what, how, when, where. So if I need to move on to, like it feels like it's, I need to ask.
Don't get too caught up in that. That's the
Okay.
ideal structure, right? So you're asking, that forces you to ask more open-ended questions rather than closed questions.
Mhm.
But don't get so overwhelmed with that it like paralyzes you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that
Great
helps. I
job.
like that. That helps.
Great
Okay,
job.
thanks.
Okay, let's do a really quick round and tell us, what is your one thing for today? What are you going to do today to move your business forward? Drew, you are first, sir.
Absolutely. So I am in the process of working on golden letters. I got a list from Bill earlier this week. I was gonna get it done earlier this week, but then I actually had somebody, which is a cool thing, called me from my last open house. They ended up, so they came with a realtor, and I guess I started talking to them about ribbon because they had offers that they put in 30 offers. And I'm like, well, have you tried ribbon? They asked me about ribbon. And I told them, and then they left. So I didn't pursue them because the realtor was there. And then they ended up calling Melody, and then Melody called me and said, hey, you met these people at the open house. They want to speak with you. And then, so I spent most of the day yesterday talking with them. We looked at some houses online, and that's moving forward. But today I'm
They
going to
fired their other agent?
yes. So that was an awkward conversation because I didn't want to say anything like, because they were telling me about their experience, so I was just listening and I didn't want to say anything like, oh well, he should have did this or he should have did that. So I kind of just
Yeah. And if that's the case, well, number one, you want to make sure that there's no relationship formally that before you, spend more time with them and pretend like they're your guy. Right. And this goes for everyone. Is Drew, great job. You want to find out what did they do what has been your positive experiences with agents in the past and what have been your negative experiences with agents in the past, right? Because they'll tell you most everything you need to know. Hey, my agent didn't teach me anything about comps, and that's why we spent 30 houses I fell in love with and we lost.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's the thing
apparently,
that pisses me off.
the seller's agent had reached out to their agent and told them and asked them if they could make their offer any better. He didn't relay that information until like the evening on the next day, and they had already decided by that time. And they were like, "Why didn't you call us and let us know that they wanted,
Of course. So knowing that, for example, in your presentation or in conversation somehow, you might, hey, I'm available. You can always reach me by, text, whatever. I always get back to my people within, 2 hours or whatever. You can just kind of throw something in there that it is reflective of the opposite of what they told you they don't like.
And I also said, I kind of tied that into my expectations of them. I said, hey, this is important that we are able to communicate at extremely fast amounts of time. If you can do that for me, I will reciprocate that same thing for you. So
Brilliant.
It worked out pretty well. But yeah, golden letters, trying to get those out by tomorrow probably, because I like to go door knock and deliver them, hand deliver them. So that kind of takes a little bit of time. I don't just mail them. So
excellent. All right, Tracy, what's your one thing for today? Okay, there you go.
Tracy,
You're up.
So let me ask this question. The golden letters, are those letters you get from Bold?
No, no. The idea of a golden letter is just real briefly is a letter that you send out to typically homeowners in a community, and it's essentially designed to get them to call you and say, hey, you got a buyer, bring them over. Hey, I am thinking about selling my home. So it's not connected to both.
Okay.
I have examples of every letter, or not every letter, but I have examples of lots of letters that different people have sent out. So just give me a call and I can share those with you. I actually should just drop those in the drive. I'll drop those in the drive.
Okay, because I hear a lot about the golden letters. I just was curious about that. So what I realized just from listening to these scripts and the role play, I have no problems with doing those, right? Because I kind of can go along and do those. But where I'm falling short is with the context, right? So I was sitting trying to figure out a way to work with the current contacts I have to send them the right letter, not word for word what to say, but how to get the conversation started, right? So what I did yesterday was I had to run out. So I jotted down the name of a few subdivisions. So I would like to send letters to those people because I know I need new contacts. The day before yesterday, I spent about 7 hours on the phone with someone from Apple Care. I was having issues with my phone. Okay. And what came out of that was we were just casually talking while we were waiting for things to download. And she says, I'm in Alabama and I'm looking to move to Georgia. And my eyes like popped out of my head. Like, are you kidding me? I said, well, I said, I'm a realtor with Keller Williams. And she was like, oh, really? Are you? So I pulled out the buyers the buyer's sheet. And I asked all the questions, randomly asked the questions, got the information that I needed.
Not randomly, very intentionally.
Yeah, very intentionally. And the only thing I could not get from her, and I understood because she was on a recorded line, perhaps. So I said to her, well, I can, told her that I could she even told me down to, I want to live on the South Side. And again, I was like, oh, funny thing, I'm on the South Side. And she said, I'm looking to move to Jonesboro. So I got this information from her. The only thing I couldn't get from her was her email address. And she said, well, I don't want to give you my email address, but I did give her my website. I gave her enough information that she can contact me. And she says, when we get off of this call, she says, I will go to your website and I will, be in contact. So I realized at that moment, I just need new contacts. Like I want new people so I need a way to get new contacts here in Georgia. So what I need, golden letters, if I need to go in door.
So a couple of ideas on that. Number one is if you have a neighborhood that you want to send, let's say you wanted to send to Martin's Landing in Roswell or something, right? You can send me the city that the neighborhood's in and the title of the neighborhood, and I can get you the names and mailing addresses and telephone numbers of those people. There is no doubt every single person on this call needs a bigger database. Simple as that. Just sending you a list of a bunch of strangers' names that happen to live in a neighborhood and you happening to send them a golden letter, the stats on the golden letter right now are around 1 to 2 calls for every like 300 to 400 people you send a golden letter to. So while that will move things forward, it will give you most likely a false impression that your business is booming. Your business is not booming. You need more physical contact with human beings. We got to go out and have conversations. And what you did with the woman on the Apple Care, it's exactly what you should do with everyone else. They're just human beings. They got families, they got jobs, they got desires, they got dreams, they got goals, they got a place to live, they want a place to live. Just ask them about all that stuff, right? And when somebody expresses, hey, I want to move to Jonesboro, say, great, sounds like we should meet, right? You can say, hey, next thing I'd like to do is to introduce you to a mortgage professional. Let me take down your contact information so I can do a 3-way introduction. I'll need your email for that. Or if she says, hey, I'm on a recorded line, I'm not comfortable with that, then say, how can I make certain that I have an opportunity to reach you in the future, right?
Okay. Okay,
You're
right.
probably right about the recorded line, and she's probably not supposed to do personal stuff on the clock, right? But if you are having a hard time getting a piece of contact information from them, it's because you haven't offered enough value, or you haven't clearly offered enough value.
Okay.
Or something that they just want. Well, I got to buy a home, so will you be using cash, or would you want me to help you obtain a mortgage for that? Well, I'll need a mortgage. Great. Well, in order to send you the information for the mortgage person, I'll need your email. Could I have your email? Right.
Got it.
Drew, did you want to add something to that? You might have a new door knocking teammate here.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. If you want to go door knocking, I was just saying open houses is that physical contact that it's just super easy because people are walking in there. They're already in the mindset. You don't have to kind of like coax them into thinking, it's a good time to buy or a good time to sell. That's already on their mind. And all you have to do is genuinely try to figure out whatever their pain point is or why they're trying to do this right now. And that kind of conversation just kind of delves into whatever it delves into. And I always think, ask questions that keep them talking. I think I learned that in PC because it makes them feel like you're a great conversationalist when really they're just talking the entire time.
Right. And it makes you feel like you're not a salesperson because, as Drew perfectly stated, look, the best realtor in town cannot talk a buyer into buying a home they don't want to buy.
Yeah.
Right.
And the best realtor in town cannot talk a seller into selling a home they don't want to sell. So if they're on the phone with you, they genuinely have some curiosity. So just let them talk. You don't have to give your sales pitch. You just have to let them talk.
Yeah.
Right.
And they will say something that they need help with, and then you can offer the solution to that.
Okay, so for an open house, so how would I do I just attend someone else's open house, or do I how would I?
How does that work?
Yes.
let's do this. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Let's finish the quick little with a one thing go around. And then Tracy, we can talk about some open house opportunities and ideas offline later today. Is that cool?
Cool, thank you.
Okay, beautiful. Melissa,
I
what do
want to
you
know too.
Antoine, what's that?
I want to know about the open house stuff too.
All right, beautiful. Molly too. Okay, sounds like we need an open house session.
We need a
Okay.
pop-up class.
All right, cool. Let me get to work on that. Antoine, what are you up to today?
Today, my buyer client is actually meeting with the lender, so I need to go over the buyer agreement and study that and learn how to fill it out.
Okay, beautiful. There are videos for that in the YouTube as well as the PC resources resource list. Okay.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I just have
Melissa.
to ask, who's that gorgeous baby? Who's that gorgeous baby?
Oh, this is my older brother. This is my my last child, Adonis. He's 1 year old.
My
Beautiful.
buddy. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Melissa, what are you doing today? What's your one thing for today?
So my one thing for today was going to be door knocking, but my partner canceled on me. So I'm actually going to try to just kind of door knock my little building here, because they're all renters, and hand out that rental shelter flyer.
Good job.
I know it's not my one thing, but I also need to start finishing reaching back out to my database and just kind of updating on what I'm doing and what they're doing now that the pandemic is lightening up, if you will.
Perfect. Great. Molly, what is your plan for today?
So my plan is to continue practicing and perfecting my script that we started this morning, and to make contact with 20 people today.
Love it. Love it. Stacy, what are you working on today?
Sorry, I couldn't get to my mute button. Well, obviously preparing for this call. So I don't see the link in the chat, so I sent my email to you. So if you can send me that package, that will be great. So I can get everything printed and ready.
Okay.
Did you hear?
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I got it.
Okay.
The pre-qual script I put in the PC help chat. So that is right there for you.
Oh,
and for
PC
others.
help chat.
And I will send
right.
you a Google shared document with the systems page. Thank you for sending me that email. All right, Teria, what are you
Yes,
up to
thank
today?
you. Working on command.
Little louder, little louder.
Can you hear me now?
I think.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was watching a video this morning about a listing presentation. So I was trying to see if I could do that in designs, and I can't. So I am working on my budget, like we talked about. Trying to figure out what my freedom number is, my big why, and just narrow down what I need to be doing so I can have a better plan for next week.
Love it. Okay, thank you. Jenny.
Working on my contacts and my golden letter.
All right, Lorinda.
Working on my database and 20 contacts for today.
Okay. Did I miss anyone? Candace.
Working on helping agents come over to Keller Williams that aren't with Keller Williams.
Love that. All right. Today.
And you, Bill.
I was about to say it now. I was
Okay.
volunteer.
You're not
What, Drew?
I said you're not getting off easy. Let us know what you're doing.
I like you, man. I like you a lot. All right. Today, I'm going to set 3 appointments, and I'm going to call 5 people in our group that are not participating so well, and I want to make sure that they're doing okay. And Melissa, Can we chat just for a second today? I want to ask you a quick question offline, okay? You're not in trouble, I promise. It's actually because you're doing awesome.
I was nervous for a second there. I said, I've been reporting my numbers. Don't come at me.
Can you report to the principal's office? I'd like to give you an award.
Fair.
All right, guys, I appreciate everything you're doing. I hope you're getting a lot out of the role play. For those that are doing it, those that are the opposite person, like Candace was today, and those that are listening, I think there's value for everyone. So I just want to, again, express my gratitude to all you guys. We're looking forward to blowing it up in 2022. So have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
guys.
Yeah.
Guys.